sex, periods, masturbation, orgasm, homosexuality, and the private parts. These are some words we prefer to keep in our private conversations only. Do we really talk about it? Do we? But today we have the founder of Pratisandhi, Ms. Niyati Sharma, with us. Pratisandhi is an organization, a youth-driven initiative which works to disseminate education about sexual health. So now let's have a chat with Niyati and let's bring this private discourse into public domain and let's discuss about sex. So hey Niyati, welcome to One World News. So my first question from you is, what is Pratisandhi and why is it named Pratisandhi?
So Pratisandhi is essentially a youth organization and we're working towards sexual health and sexual education in India. We chose the word Pratisandhi because it's a Sanskrit term that essentially means the period of transition between two ages. So we sort of wanted it to symbolize adolescence and the period when people have the most questions about sexuality and sex and they have so many questions to explore. So that's what we wanted it to signify.
So it simply signifies the period of transition, that's puberty.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so if we talk about the three most taboo zoned areas, sex, hymen and virginity. The construct of these terms in our society is, very confusing at present, and people actually start to relate sex with virginity, and I sometimes think that is there any relationship in sex and virginity? So what's your take on that?
So I personally don't think that there is a connection between sex and virginity, but a lot of people do think so. I mean, we get questions all the time from people that how do I find a virgin bride or how do I get a virgin girlfriend? And we're just like, I don't understand that question. But essentially virginity is a social construct. Everybody has their own definition of it. Some people would say that you're not a virgin even if you've made out with somebody, right? So everybody defines virginity differently. Everybody defines sex differently. But from what I see, virginity is just a social notion. It's a very taboo topic and it's a very stigmatized issue, and I think that it's something that we should really leave in the past.
Yeah. Plus the construct of marriage and getting a wife who is virgin and her hymen should break and the first sex concept.
It's so strange because people will be like if your hymen's broken you're not a virgin, but there's so many misconceptions about it because so many people have differently shaped hymens. A lot of people are not born with a hymen, and a lot of people's hymens break when they're like exercising or if they're too flexible, if you're into yoga or things like that. Your hymen could break just as easily with strenuous exercise. So sex has absolutely nothing to do with that.
It's completely a stigma.
Yeah, it's just a thin membrane. How can it signify absolutely anything about you?
So since we are talking about sexual health, हम लोग इतने comfortable नहीं होते sexual health के बारे में बात करने में. In public we don't feel comfortable. And क्योंकि आप एक ऐसे issue को publicly discuss करते हैं, so there must be some problems, some difficulties in this path. So what were these difficulties? आपको क्या क्या problems face हुई while disseminating about sex?
We face a lot of problems, especially कोई किसी 18 साल की लड़की से बात नहीं करना चाहता about sex, right? You go to schools and you talk to a principal, and then the principals are usually elderly women and so on. So they'll feel like, अच्छा मुझे 18 साल की लड़की क्या बताएगी sex के बारे में, right? And it's happened very often. हम एक बार we'd gone to a private school in Delhi only. And we were doing a workshop, and this was an English medium private school, and वहाँ की principal was just like, नहीं ये सब लड़कियों को बताने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, consent के बारे में क्यों सिखा रहे हो, ये तो शादी के बाद सिखाना है. And I was like, that's crazy, right? Because if you have some hesitation with the more sexual health oriented subjects, I can understand that. But saying कि consent के बारे में मत सिखाओ is just, it's absolutely wild to me, So काफ़ी problems होती हैं. People are very, very hesitant. And to some extent, I understand their hesitancy, but I feel like there's एक ना तरीका होता है लोगों को in conversations में indulge करने का. You can't just be in their face and be like, अच्छा नहीं, हम अब इसके बारे में बात करेंगे और करना ही पड़ेगा. That way nobody will understand. Obviously human nature है, लोग defensive हो जाते हैं because it goes against their values and what they've grown up with. So obviously it's a very sensitive conversation and धीरे धीरे ही आगे बढ़ेगा.
So what are those platforms? आप कौन से platforms को pick up कर रहे हो इस तरीके की conversation को raise करने के लिए? And what are the new initiatives you are looking for?
So far we do workshops, we do donation drives, and we do a lot of awareness campaigns. So we do a lot of events, photography competitions, things like that. हम basically youth को target करते हैं because we feel that they are going to bring about the change, right? Because going to 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, it's very difficult to reach out to them because वही है, अपब्रिंगिंग के बारे में बात आ जाती है, that you know they've grown up with a certain notion, उसको change करना बहुत मुश्किल है. Exactly. But when you go to 13-year-olds, 16-year-olds, their mind is still changing. You know, they're very impressionable.
And they're very adaptive towards
change. They're very adaptive towards change. So उनका mind change करना and to bring them forth in this conversation is much easier than to bring forth a 40-year-old or 50-year-old. Even like my grandparents, my parents, it's much harder to bring them in the conversation than, you know, young people. So that's what we are targeting. That's why social media is so important, because everybody's active on social media. The youth, especially, social media पे ही जीती है, you know. So I think that has been a very, very crucial platform.
Okay. So what are the upcoming events? What's next in the packet?
So we have a panel discussion coming up.
Okay.
It's on the 7th of September and it's in Green Park. It's at Empowerers Co-working. And essentially, we're bringing together a lot of people from different arenas. So we have sex educators, doctors, principals, educators, things like that. So all of them will come together and join the conversation कि अच्छा sex education किस तरफ जा रही है अब in India, and how do we indulge everybody in this conversation, and हमारे लिए हर arena में क्या क्या challenges हैं, politics में क्या challenges आ रहे हैं, why are we not able to bring about these policy changes. So that's the whole point, to bring everybody in dialogue together.
Okay. So Niyati, what is your final note to our audience?
I think that sexual education is not something that we can achieve in one day. It is something that everybody needs to get involved in. Teachers, educators, principals, NGOs that are working in this field, parents themselves, and I think especially the media needs to get involved in this conversation. And you know, since it's the link between people and you know organizations like myself that are working here, that you know I had the opportunity to be here. So I absolutely think that the media is very, very important, and I think for more such news you should definitely stay tuned to One World News.